I was planning on showing this off on stream, but I got a sound curtain to go behind my desk here because currently I'm kind of tucked into a like a small closet, and so we still get like a lot of echo when I speak loud. And so I got a sound dampening curtain, and I was gonna like hold it up and see if we could tell a difference, but it's folded in on itself, and like literally right before I went live, Trill was like, all right, let's see. Okay, so this is on the floor next to me. You'll see my desktop PC behind him. Um, Literally had this sitting on the floor next to me so I could show you guys because I wanted to see if it made a difference with my audio. And he was like, mine. Ridiculous. All right. So this evening, I think I am going to continue some of my C++23 string serialization development. I do want to show off a couple of things I've done with Briarthorn, so I'll do that first. And then I have an article to go over with a new C++26 feature that seemed interesting, and it's something I didn't know about, so I figured while I read it, you guys can learn about it with me, and we'll go from there. So to start with, hey Logan, Briarthorn, I have been playing around, and this is live on the website. I've been playing around with some ideas of like stationary radar scanning, missile shooting SAM sites that your player would have to avoid. And you can kind of see like, oh, they found me. Now, I'm not necessarily in missile range because of that darker shade, but they have found me. So if I fly closer, and the other thing I did is you have objects that your radar can't see through, but they can see through. So they can see you, but you can't see them unless you like navigate such like this to where you can get between them. And now that I'm in this darker shaded region, it should fire on me. Yep, it did. And so now you're trying to like deal with at least surviving that, deal with this guy who's shooting at you. You shoot at them, maybe drop a flare to prevent the missiles from getting to you. My only concern is there's a lot going on here. So this wouldn't be like the first mission you play when you hop into the game. This would be like later down the line once you've kind of gotten the grasp of the different systems and how they work. But I'm also just trying to sketch level ideas with this to figure out exactly how I want to lay this stuff out. What's fun, what's miserable, that kind of thing. And then I have off to the right the current loadout, how much ammo you have left, that kind of thing. But yeah, it's a little detailed. It's definitely going to be overwhelming to start with if I just threw you in. I got track lists on the left here, so this is everything that's like active, and then whatever you currently see with your radar, you can select. And then we're being tracked again, so we got to hightail it out of here so we don't get shot at. We have something coming our way, and eventually, I think, like, I don't know. Because I was also considering, you know, there's going to be upgrades and things like that. So you really won't necessarily see all these radar search volumes scanning per se, because you won't have the technological capability to view them unless you like bought upgrades or something later in the game. So early level, it might be simple. It might be you don't see all of this other than like you're being shot at and you just have to defeat this one guy. And maybe I give you an objective list to shoot down kind of thing. So still playing around with that, still thinking about it, but that's kind of where things are at right now. That's live on the website and available in GitHub. All right. So this is a new type coming in C++26 that I just saw about, I think yesterday. Not sure. Now I did glance at this article, so I think I understand what it's for, but up until reading about it, I did not know this was coming in C++26. So apparently it's adding 2 new vocabulary types in the memory header. If you know C++, this is where you're going to find unique pointer and shared pointer. Introduced by this paper, these are the authors, I believe. Ooh, is that Sean Parent? I actually kind of want to see. Ooh, watch your eyes. Yes, Sean Parent. Holy crap. All right, so there's some people with who know what they're doing writing this paper, it looks like. Let's see, from the abstract, the class template indirect confers value-like semantics on a dynamically allocated object. An indirect may hold an object of a class T. Copying the indirect will copy the object T. When an indirect is accessed through a const access path, constness will propagate to the owned object. The class template polymorphic confers value-like semantics on a dynamically allocated object. A polymorphic type may hold an object of a class publicly derived from T. Copying the polymorphic type will copy the object of the derived type. When a polymorphic type is accessed through a const access path, constness will propagate to the owned object. So I didn't realize this was coming as well. So I think I'm understanding what this is doing. Logan, if we're not careful, AI knows, right? It just knows. And it's all interconnected. If we all have internet access, then it's eventually going to just know, right? And then you're gonna get the ads. I'm always suspicious. I forget, oh man, what were we doing? I was with my friends and we were just like chatting, and I opened up my phone, and on Reddit, on the homepage, like the very first post was on a topic that my friends were conversing about aloud publicly, right? Not like through chat or anything. And it's like, man, are these phones listening to us? So this is interesting. Let's just keep reading. As you can tell, these 2 types are very close in spirit. They used to be 2 separate proposals, one paper for indirect and another for polymorphic, before being merged into one paper. Likewise, I originally planned to cover both in a single article, but it grew long enough that I decided to split it. This post covers indirect. The next one will cover polymorphic. Okay, cool. And this is by Sandor Dargo 2 days ago. The problem with unique pointer. All right. So without knowing what the problem is, I'm kind of a big fan of unique pointer because it, for the most part, forces you to write code more correctly than you would have without it. And it's a little more painful to use if you're not familiar with it and you're not familiar with like ownerships and move semantics, but it does eliminate a class of bugs and errors that occur if you weren't using it. So it is nice. I am a fan of unique pointer. It doesn't solve like references or anything like that. You still have to pay attention to that. So what are unique pointers' problems? Unique pointer has two fundamental issues when used as a member of a value type class. First, it breaks const propagation. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know if that is necessarily unique pointers' fault versus how you are using it. Let's see. It has an operator star const returns a non-const reference. A const object can mutate it indirectly stored members. Okay, so maybe it is unique pointer's fault. So here's an example. They create a settings struct. They define a player. They give the player a private member variable of type settings. They instantiate it. And then, okay. So they have a const method, and they are able to change the state of the function. So, yes, because the settings object is effectively a pointer. So if you are using it in a const method, I would expect that you can't modify the player object's internal state. What that would mean in this scenario is the internal state is this member variable settings that holds an address. So you can't change that address. But it appears you can change what that address's state is. Compiles and mutates through const. So I could see that being an issue just from the perspective of, let's say, I'm using your library and you give me a player type and you have a public method defined with mute const, and I see that, and as someone who knows C++, I go, oh, okay, I can safely call this, and you will not change internal state, and I don't have to stress about anything changing on me without expecting it to. And it turns out, no, you can actually change underlying state even when you weren't expecting it. Okay, so yeah, I could see that being an issue. Hey, Manjaris, how's it going? Second, it deletes copy operations. I mean, the problem with unique pointer, it deletes copy operations. I think I'm going to be nitpicky here for the sake of being nitpicky. I think deleting a copy operation for a unique pointer is a feature, not a bug. It's so you don't accidentally take references to something that has unique ownership. But for the sake of this article, as an example of maybe you do want the ability to copy it, well, then the unique pointer would prevent that. Yes. Did I hear about... is that Z2 or ZII or ZLL concept? I don't know what that is. If car should be copyable... Car? Was there a car? Oh, new type. Okay, new type introduced. If car should be copyable, you must write all 5 special member functions yourself. This is the tedious rule of 5 boilerplate that every C++ developer knows too well. See, here's the problem. I created a YouTube short about Rule of Five, and it blew up. I don't know what the percentage of not nice comments there were, or comments like, hey, this is dumb, you're just making stuff up to be making stuff up, or to like be righteous. And it turns out it is boilerplate that every C++ developer knows too well. Based on my current experience and based on interviews that I have done time and time again, I would actually say a lot of C++ developers don't know the Rule of Five. They really don't. Even if those online do know it, that doesn't mean everyone knows it. The world is big. Your social internet programming bubble of knowledge that you visit online, subreddits, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, you're not everyone, right? You're paying attention more than some Joe Schmo who is just heads down, trying to get through school, trying to get an internship, maybe is working another job to pay for college. They aren't necessarily as online as us, right? Especially the demographic that actually watches someone talk programming live. Probably not the same people that would know or not know about the Rule of Five. So yeah, those who are watching me right now, you very well might know the Rule of Five and be like, yeah, everyone knows this. It's not true. It really isn't. You can look at the comments on my short to find out. Okay, so standard indirect value semantics for heap allocated objects. So this is interesting. This immediately makes me think of like the copy on write paradigm, where you might have a value semantic object, but then under the hood you have a shared pointer, and only when you actually want to copy an object do you essentially clone what that shared pointer contains. Sounds like they're kind of building this into a new type. The indirect is what unique pointer would be if it had been designed for composite class members rather than ownership transfer. It owns a heap allocated T and provides deep copies, const propagation, value-based comparison, and hashing. All the things you'd expect from a value type. I mean, that sounds cool. Stand by. Music's gotten a little vocally for my taste here. I'm going to change it to something. Let's get some lo-fi going. All right. So example. Now we have our settings object, but we have given ourselves the spaceship operator and comparison operator default, which is fine. And now we're using indirect instead of unique pointer. So this is interesting. Okay, so this is going to allocate a new pointer on the heap whenever it is copied. So it's going to be its own thing every time it's copied, it seems like. I have not tried execution yet. I don't know. I assume GCC has it. I don't know if any other compilers have it. And a lot of the projects I have worked on personally and or on stream, I'm typically sticking to the big three. So Visual Studio, Clang, and GCC. And I'm really trying to only use features that all three support so that my automated pipelines will work across all the platforms. I am excited to use it for sure, because I have always done the whole like naive thread pool implementation when I want to do asynchronous workloads. And I have since watched CPP. I don't know if it was CPPCon or something else, but someone did a whole breakdown of implementing a thread pool. And I'm like, oh, cool. Oh, hey, I've written a thread pool like that before. And after he showed all that, he was like, you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, oh. And this is why you're doing it wrong. Oh. So it turns out writing performant asynchronous operations is not trivial by any means. So I am very excited to have like the STL bring it for you, or bring something for you to use out of the box versus incorrectly doing it by default. And it's not just me. I don't think I have ever seen a well-written like thread pool implementation in real life. Doesn't mean you guys haven't. It's just I haven't. All right, so we have this player class with a indirect settings object. So this means player will be copyable, and it's not just going to copy the pointer, it's going to reallocate. So that's kind of cool. Usually I would have to have done this myself, right? You would have to define your own copy constructor, copy operator, and basically call like make unique on settings, passing in the other settings into it for the copy constructor. So it has a mute function that is mutable. And then you can return const, and then you can return a const reference. Now, obviously, this doesn't save you from handling references incorrectly. So you still got to pay attention to that. Note that mute and set volume are non-const now, as they should be. If you tried to make them const, the compiler would stop you. Indirect pointer const returns a const settings object, so settings muted equal true and a const method is a compile error. Okay. The exact bug from the unique pointer version is structurally impossible. Let's walk through what else indirect gives us. Hey Jan, how's it going? Const propagation. Unlike unique pointer, indirect operator star, so the dereference, returns a const reference when you have a const player settings, giving you a const reference. So attempting to mutate any member is a compile error. This is how member sub-objects behave, and indirect simply extends that to the heap. Deep copies. Copying an indirect type copies the own T. Your class becomes copyable without writing a single line of boilerplate. So this is kind of cool, because I have always had to implement my own copy functions, clone functions, especially if you're, I guess, composing multiple types, combining players with, I don't know, enemies, vehicles. You think of like games, right? Objects. And you're going to have like another class that has all of these, maybe a world type, and you want to copy that world. Maybe you want to copy that world and move it to a thread and have some logic run on that world. Well, before, you had to write a bunch of boilerplate code to make sure all those copies were happening, because it was on you to call make unique or new or make shared, whatever your heap allocator was. Seems like indirect will do that for you now. So player A set volume mute. Player B copies player A. Yep, oh, that makes sense. Now, so far the examples are basically telling me that this should just be a regular old object and not a pointer to an object if you want copy, because then you don't have to stress about doing a heap allocation or multiple heap allocations. So I would be curious to think about or see a better reason to use this type. Where are we? With unique pointer, this would require a handwritten copy constructor. Yep, that's what I was saying. Value-based comparison. If T supports operator equal and spaceship operator, then indirect does too. By comparing... Oh, that changes everything. So, oh man, this is gonna hurt my brain. So, I guess basically indirect under the hood is a heap allocated object, a pointer, but everything you do to interact with it, it's going to treat it like a regular old type on the stack. I showed buffer this, guys, but for those who joined a little later, I want to show you this real quick. I got a sound dampening curtain. Hang on. Freaking Google Photos. Are you kidding me? I got a sound dampening curtain to help with my audio because I'm facing a closeted area, so there's a lot of like cavernous gaps for audio to like reflect off of. And so I put the curtain down here on the floor next to me so I could show you guys. And my cat, so this is right next to me. My cat found it and was like, "Hey, this seems comfortable." And he immediately tucked himself in and is now chilling. So the reason Trill is not sitting in that seat right now is because he is down here. You're ridiculous. He's just hanging out. That's a great question, Manjaris. Like everything in C++, right? It depends. C++ is just going to have a mountain of answers or solutions to anything and everything. And it kind of boils down to like what goals you're trying to accomplish with your project. And you might just use a subset. Like anyone can build anything without the use of indirect. So I guess the real answer here is when you find yourself having to manually write copy constructors to handle pointer types for your class and manually write like comparison operators, then maybe it's a time to swap to an indirect and save yourself from having to write a bunch of excess code. So I think that's the main reason you would want to use indirect is you're already doing this, but you've written a lot of custom code to do it. So instead, just use indirect and clean up your code. I like that reasoning. And that's what I'm going to tell myself. That's why I would use it. So unlike unique pointer, did I scroll up? Have we already done this? We already done this. Indirect has no null or empty state by design. I guess so that could be a reason as well. If you want a heap allocated object that can never be null and you don't want to check for null, right here. So now you get to use a pointer type and not have to check for null. There is no default Boolean operator, no has value. An indirect always owns an object, except after being moved from. In that case, valueless after move returns true. Oh my god. How about that for a member function? Valueless after move. And accessing the object is undefined behavior. Oh, great. If you need nullable indirection, use an optional indirect. Oh my god. Oh my god. All right. So I get it. Makes sense to me. But I've been doing this for a while. But at the same time, I totally get the arguments that people have for the complexity of C++, right? When you have to know to do something like this, and then someone from like a C background comes along and goes, dude, what the hell? Just do a raw pointer. Done. And it's like, yeah, but you don't get it. This is safer. You just got to know that, you just got to know all of this. And then you also need to know the history of a unique pointer. You need to know move like R value semantics. You need to know like when you would use a unique pointer over a shared pointer and why you would want to use an indirect over both of those. And apparently there's a new where is it? A new polymorphic type that's also coming, which I guess supports derived types like an indirect. So I get it. I do. But the C++ side of me is like, I mean, this is kind of cool. When to reach for it. Indirect is the right tool when you need heap allocation for structural reasons, but want your class to behave like a value. Pimple. Ah, there it is. Yes, for sure. Yes. I have used the pimple idiom in my own like professional career, and it's really nice, especially back in the day when I was working on really big projects that took hours to compile, and it was really nice to use pimple because you could change implementation without changing like header files or API and not have to recompile the entire code base to test it. You would just recompile the one translation unit and maybe the library it belongs in and call it done. But the trade-off was that pointer indirection made it a little harder to debug, and yes, you had to write boilerplate to make sure any class that used pimple could handle the copy operations. So this would handle it for you. That actually would be nice. So an indirect impl would be kind of cool to see. Recursive types. A struct node, int value, standard indirect. Oh. Okay. Yeah. That'd be kind of cool. Oh man, is this out yet? I kind of want to do that. That'd be kind of cool. Implementing a linked list. Implementing it would be like we can make this clickbait, right? Implementing a linked list without pointers, and it would all be value based, but under the hood it's a pointer. Large members. Moving a big member to the heap to shrink size of your class while keeping value semantics. Yeah. Conclusion. Indirect fills a gap that has existed since C++11 introduced move semantics and smart pointers. Unique pointer solved ownership, but it never solved value semantics for indirectly stored objects. With indirect, pimple implementations lose their boilerplate, composite classes get correct const propagation, and deep copies, comparison, and hashing all work without writing a single special member function. In the next article, we'll look at its sibling, standard polymorphic, which extends the same idea to class hierarchies, giving you polymorphic containers with value semantics and no clone methods. Okay, that would be cool. Not needing to like add a clone API to your own code base. That would be kind of cool. Is that article out yet? I don't think it is. Okay. I'm gonna have to keep my eyes on this. This was Sandor Dargo, CPP 26 indirect. Cool. Yeah, that seems interesting. Definitely something I would be down to do once it's available. But it's C++26. I'm almost certain in my career I will probably never end up using C++26. If I had to guess, I'll probably be retired by then, I hope. But at least personally for hobby projects, for sure, definitely be using it. Okay, back to some C++ writing. So, just a small recap. I wanted to explore standard expected and concepts for some simple string serialization functions. Got started on it, got a couple of like string to string conversion, string to int. So I kind of want to get that finished up. I've also been thinking about renaming the repo because I kind of did this on the fly, just called it streams because it's code I write while streaming. I know, I'm terrible at naming. So want to work on that. And I think I want to support some other types as well. And once this is done, it kind of gives us a baseline to anything that can serialize to string. That could be JSON, XML, YAML, my own custom scripting language. Like, this code is what you would do to parse values from a script of some kind. So, will I take that anywhere? I don't know. XML mentioned. I still use XML professionally. Like, it is verbose, but it is structured. And when it's structured, it is less error prone. So that, and also I don't make the decisions for what types we're using, especially for a code base that existed before me. When I was young, before I ever wrote code for a company, I had a very small internship. I don't even think I knew any programming at this point. This is like right out of high school. I worked for, who did I work for? I think the company was called Reynolds and Reynolds. I think they did like payment systems for dealerships or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head. But they, like, having never written code for anyone, they tasked me with like creating a chat app, and they wanted me to use XML somehow. And I'm like, I've never written a lick of code before, and I have no idea what XML is. Where do I even begin? I work for Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, let's just say that. Yep. And he tried to get me to write XML, and I just gave him a blank stare. I had no idea what XML was. Are you kidding me? And there definitely wasn't the kind of internet we have today where I can just like go on YouTube and look it up. Actually, did YouTube exist? I'm not 100% sure YouTube existed when I started that internship. Yes, this is modules. I could make a tutorial video. I would have to think about that because I would want to do, man, what would I do it with? It would have to be like something small enough because I wouldn't want it to be more than 15-30 minutes tops for a YouTube video. And I wouldn't say I am like the leading expert for modules. I know how to get it compiling and using with VS Code and Visual Studio. But yeah, I'll definitely consider that for sure. Might not be a bad idea. But yes, I am using modules to do all of this, and I am using Gtest for testing. And as of the last stream where we were working on this, we have string serialization going, or deserialization, going from string to type. So 42 string to an unsigned integer, to a long, to an unsigned long, all of it const expr, making sure that if you pass in an invalid argument, then the expected result would be an error, that kind of thing. And then with the CMake Gtest integration, I can just hit this button and it will automatically run the test and verify that, yep, it passed. So we have integers, we have strings. I would not necessarily say it's thoroughly tested, but it's probably good enough such that down the road when a bug pops up, it should be somewhat easy to address. We're also making use of concepts so that we don't need a bunch of ugly symphony. If anyone's familiar with the symphony, we don't need a bunch of that anymore. We just use a concept and call it done. That way we can define simpler functions that are a little easier to read. So let's add, I guess, floating point. See how that goes. We do have a float type, so let's try that. And I think FromChars automatically supports floating, so I don't know if there's any extra code I need to write here other than, do I just copy and paste actually and call it float type? Is it that easy? And if it is that easy, the next question becomes, do I need to handle float type separately from int type, or do I define a concept where it's like, what would you even call that? Integral? We have integral float type. Yeah, so I might be arithmetic, right? Is that what we would call it? Is there an arithmetic type? Math. I don't know why I searched math. I could have hoped. Yeah, but that might be what we do. So let's try it. So we have ints. So let's start with a simple float test. Float gets a little trickier because it has scientific notation built in. And I also want to... Yeah, let's do that. Expression did not evaluate to a constant. Your face isn't a constant. When I retire, you still pretend to program, or you just put aside? I think it all depends. I can't predict the future, but in my mind, I always thought after I retire, I would still want to work on my own personal projects where I can tinker and try new things out. And, even streaming it. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to retire and I'll do that, right? Maybe I'll do a little bit of freelance. I don't see myself stopping. Like, this is what I enjoy. I have always done this ever since, I think, at least from programming perspective, at least 13, maybe younger. But I've always done this. And then I was thinking, so last year I worked for a company doing robotic automation, so like forklift truck driving in factories. And it was an okay job. I was like, the code was already there. I was more hired to do like maintenance and debugging, so I wasn't doing anything like crazy exciting. But then I got laid off. I got laid off back in October. And so I was thinking to myself, why do I need to wait for retirement to start tinkering, streaming, what have you? Why not start now? If I'm telling myself this is what I want to do because I enjoy it, then why am I not already doing it? So that's kind of why I'm here today, is I wanted to try this out. I wanted to try out streaming. I can't guarantee I'll be here next week necessarily. I'm taking it one bit at a time. And those of you who have been a little bit more regular um, will have probably noticed I am not super consistent. I try to get on once or twice a week at least. But I am working a 9 to 5, and programming is mentally exhausting. And so there are days where I get done from work and I'm like, man, I don't want to program. I need a break. So, you know, it's a balance of like making sure I don't burn myself out from the work that actually pays me to live. Um, I won't deny it would be really cool to do this instead of the 9 to 5, because then I would have a lot more freedom to try out new language features and things like that. Because when you do this professionally, you're kind of stuck with decisions that have been made years prior to you ever working for the company, and you got to kind of work within those confines. And sometimes that leads to you being creative and coming up with some cool solutions. And other times it's a drag and could lead to burnout. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where I'm coming from at the moment. I could do that. I could just, you know, keep a trail cam going live 24/7 or something, and then whenever I feel like it, I just hop in. But then I feel like you guys are just here for Trill and not me. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I've come close to burnout before. Um Mainly from, I don't even know if it was necessarily from programming, but more from like the environment I worked in, always feeling frustrated or maybe not feeling heard, or feeling like my ideas aren't being listened to. So like finding a job where you feel appreciated, and like people are excited to see you show up, that is such a huge part of being successful and like staying motivated. And so if you don't get that, then it sucks, right? And that will definitely lead to burnout a lot quicker. Do I need to look into developing like an animated cat that walks along my display here? Actually, I bet it wouldn't surprise me. I bet there's already like OBS plugins. Um, we're running into an issue here, which is the from chars might not support const expr float conversion. Is that true? Uh, integer. Or I'm doing it wrong, which is very, very possible. floating point, floating point 0. VS Code's pet is kind of like that, right? Except it's like tiny and down here in the corner. We could have something like, could you imagine a cat just sitting here hanging out on top of chat with his like paws over the chat window? That'd be kind of cool. Is there a specific field of programming I'm interested in? I have always had at least some interest in game dev, for sure. At least where I live, though, that's never been a real possibility. And not until like after COVID has remote work ever been a real possibility. So I never really built up that experience. And to be honest, it might be different now. I don't know, but it seems like the regular old individual contributor for game dev isn't treated very well. You know, you're working like crazy hours, you're making bare minimum, and you're probably working on the West Coast where it's super expensive. So it just never seemed feasible for me. So the field that I got into, which was like modeling and simulation and visualization, so that's like, you know, taking OpenGL graphics, rendering vehicles, aircraft, trucks, you know, anything, placing them out in the world like a 3D globe, and integrating physics models that simulate real world physics and then visualizing it. That was very similar to building a game engine. And so I actually really enjoyed that. I found that a lot of fun. I think from that, getting more involved in graphics programming, shading, like CUDA development, all of that seemed interesting to me, but maybe not interesting enough that I felt the need to go off and try like a toy project. So it's tough. Mobile development, I've always enjoyed. I missed out on the initial gold rush of mobile app development. I just didn't know enough when it happened. I was like fresh out of high school when touch phones started to become a thing. I think the original iPhone was 2007, I think. And I was still in college. I did not know enough to make an app. And so I just didn't get to. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, I enjoy developing an engine for the sake of developing the engine, but you know, every developer goes through this phase, or a lot of developers do, where it's like, oh hey, I'm gonna make a game engine for my game, and then you never finish the game. And that's me to the T. But at the same time, I really enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. Hell, even like the string serialization stuff here, this is stuff you would want in a game engine, right? You're going to, like, if you think of Godot and how Godot has its own scripting language, almost certainly Godot is doing something like what I am doing in order to parse their scripting language. Dude, if Minecraft, or not even Minecraft, just like the voxel rendering, if that hadn't been done to death, I for sure would want to try that too, just to explore it. But it's been done time and time again, so it's kind of like beating a dead horse. Trying to find, is this not? Oh. So floating point types are not supported via const expr, at least as of C++ 23. There is a proposal to make it const expr using modern const expr compatible algorithms like fastfloat or ZM or ZMIJ. Use third-party libraries like Daniel. Interesting. Fair enough. Okay. Can't do const expr for floating point types. At least for now. Unless I like wrote a const expr compatible algorithm or copied one. But when to make a game. Yeah, I think like, well, and everyone, like anyone you talk to will say this, right? It's if you want to make an engine, do it. Like, who cares what anyone else thinks? If you enjoy it, do it. Doesn't, not even an engine. If you want to make a Minecraft clone, do it. You know, do whatever is fun that you would find enjoyment out of. Just do it, because you'll learn. You'll learn more from something you enjoy versus something you have to do, right? Like, oh, you're assigned homework. You have to come up with a compression algorithm. Oh, this is so much work. I'd rather go do something else. Versus, oh, cool. zlib is actually a really cool library. I'm curious how it works. I kind of want to do it myself, and I'm going to read the paper it was based off of, which is, oh man, off the top of my head, I don't remember what it's called. There's an algorithm to it. But anyway, it's like, oh yeah, that's fun. So if you're not like forced to do it, but you want to do it, do it. Hey, Greenhorn. This evening, I'm not really making anything in particular, I would say. We're basically doing a little bit of string serialization, going from like a string to an integer or a string to a float. Basically writing an API that makes use of C++ concepts and standard expected, because it's some STL APIs that I have not gotten to use professionally, and so I just want to see how they work and see if I can make anything with it. Nothing crazy. Otherwise, I'm usually making or working on my game called Briarthorn, but that's a little more advanced and a little less programming oriented, I would say. I mean, it's still programming, but it's a lot less like C++ oriented programming. The No Graphic API article. I've not heard of that. I'll have to look that one up. Well, thanks for saying that, Greenhorn. I really appreciate it. I'm always like, I know the internet is vast and there is a lot of people with a lot of opinions on the internet, including myself. And so I do see comments here and there, but I try to avoid most of them. So it's nice hearing that some people find them either useful or entertaining or fun. And I'm still learning. I'm still figuring this out. I have officially been doing this since March, May? When did I start? I think I started at the end of March. So I've been doing this for 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4.5 months. So I'm still learning. Still trying to figure this out. Ooh, I am aware of how Roller Coaster Tycoon was made, and it blows my freaking mind. I have not done a lot of assembly. Like, obviously I learned a little bit of assembly in school, and I had like one class that was like really focused on it and reading it and determining what it did. And then even professionally, I did a very little bit of like reverse engineering, but I'm just writing in assembly just blows my mind because it's a lot. Okay, so that built. So let's run it. I wonder if there is a good string test suite out there for like verifying your floats convert well. I mean, I'm just using from chars under the hood, so it's not like it isn't already tested. So I guess the real API I need to test is invalidity. Assembly is hard until you make your own version of C. I mean, and to be fair, there are like, I forget what the tool was called that I used. Is it Ada? Is that the tool? I forget the term Ada. Gosh, I don't remember what the tool is called. It might be Ada. But like if you have a good tool, just like a good IDE, you can get your assembly to a point that it's easier to read and navigate. Like you'll be able to write comments and understand what things are doing. No, not GAS. I think it's Ada. I could be wrong. It's been a long time. Ida. Is it Ida? That's what it is. Thanks, Buffer. Yep. I was close. I was off by a letter. I think we also need to make sure the scientific notation is behaving as expected. All right. This, I've said this before. This is what I really love about the AI encode is it just saves you a little bit of typing. And I guess it was listening to me because it knew I wanted to test scientific notation, I guess. I don't know. Wait, out of range. Oh, wait, how I forget how big a float a 4-byte float goes. Is it like +7? 308 is the double, yeah. Or 7 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay. 1038. So this would be out of range then. So we want to make sure that's true. But then if we go less than, I guess I should just be able to copy this, right? 34E38. We'll start here. I think the better way to do this maybe, I don't think STL provides a way. I don't remember, or if I have to convert it myself. I have to do 2-string. was hoping something was already defined for me. All right. Well, to avoid... Okay. I have another YouTube short on this. Hard-coded strings. To avoid... I did a poor job of explaining and editing that short, but besides the point. To avoid a hard-coded string / magic number here, what I might do is standard to string numeric limits float max. Less error prone, because now I don't have to stress about typing the string correctly or having a copy and paste accident. Is toString const expr? I don't think it is. No. All right. Let's switch up the music a little. I'm in the mood for some rock. You see your coworker's new favorite interview question? In fact, if I'm... All right, this is a successful one. So then what I can do is expect equal... value. I can just do float max. Then this should be out of range. Really, it should be just e plus 39 should be out of range. Has value false, expect out of range, and then a random string. Ooh. Yep, underscore string view would work as well. I should be good either way though, because these functions take a string view. And the C string is allocated no matter what. You know, that is actually something I have not gotten to use yet, is const eval or const init. Const eval was actually something I read about semi-recently because I had not been using it. So, like, when would I use const eval over const expr, for instance? The main difference is that const expr functions can run at either compile time or runtime, while const eval functions can only run at compile time. So that's kind of nice to guarantee, like, hey, this needs to happen at compile time, and if it can't or won't, let me know. So I might need to think of some scenarios where I'd want to use this. All right, that should be all right. Did that pass? Okay, that's passing. So I need the same thing for double just to make sure. Um, floating point is passing. So now the question becomes, do I need float type to be separate from int type? Because otherwise these functions are exactly the same thing, which makes me think this can just be like an arithmetic type. Yeah, that's actually useful, because if all you know is const expr and you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is, compile time, and then all it takes is a simple accident, right? All it takes is, hey, I wrote const auto instead of const expr auto, and therefore it actually ended up not being comp time when I thought it was. So it is kind of nice to be able to do like const eval or const init. I've just never gotten to do that before, so I'll definitely have to start doing that. Okay, so that's passing. So I am thinking, I know there is a is arithmetic like type check, but I don't know if there's a concept for it. Okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna do. Hmm. I mean, it's here. Might as well just take it. Is integral or floating type. Ooh. Do I need to also make sure it's not a Boolean? Because I want Boolean to be handled as a true or false string. Well, that's why we have tests, so we'll verify. So I think then I should be able to change this to arithmetic type. Let's comment this out and build and see if it compiles. And then see if all of the tests pass. All of the tests pass. We're good. Oh, that's a good point too. Forgetting to write if const expr. Yeah, I'm all about leaning on the compiler to make sure you're writing the code you meant to write. Let's make sure. I guess Boolean is a good next step. Making sure. So this shouldn't compile because I'm not handling the Boolean type. And it looks like it isn't, because from chars can't handle parsing Boolean, which I think makes sense. So now we need, ooh, but this is telling me it's trying to use this function. So that's actually a problem. So we want, hmm. Can I use, how would I use concepts to define concepts? Is it just this? There we go. Okay, we got a fatal error, unresolved external symbol, because a function to handle the Boolean type is declared and being used, but not defined. So now we have to do that. So I don't need this anymore. This is a simple enough solution for now. But there are some, hey, this is almost like a an interview session, right? It's like, hey, how would you convert a string to a boolean? Well, what are some like simple optimizations we can do here? Well, if this string doesn't start with a T or an F, then it's an immediate failure. A const eval matrix lookup. That, okay, so maybe there's some compile time stuff we can do here too. I also trying to decide, like, if a user provided like TRUE or like any of these combination of letters, well, one thing I would immediately look to doing is just lowercase everything. So before you do any comparisons, just lowercase everything, call it a day. That way you're guaranteed to have simpler code for your checks. Checking if it's empty. So you could do like if const expr. Actually, do I even need that? If standard empty string invalid argument. You like how the abbreviation for Norway automatically gets converted to false? Yep. So if our string is empty, then we have an invalid argument. Now, my question is, I actually don't know if I know the answer to this. If my function is const expr, do I also need to specify const expr with my if statements? If a function is const expr, I don't think I do. Do the internal... It wouldn't just be if either, would it? Need marked const expr. Yeah, I didn't think so. Yeah. Okay. Okay, yeah, you're basically using this for compile time checks itself. So I'm going to check if the string is empty. If it is, it's an invalid argument. We can verify, we could do like another check here that's should be fairly quick, which is a size of 4 or 5, maybe. So we could do this, or this is going to be weird. I actually haven't tried doing this yet, so I'm going to start doing it. And I don't know if anyone else knew this, but in C++, you don't have to do ampersands or pipes or carrots. You can use English. You can do and, or, X, or? Yes. I don't know if you should. I'm going to try it, and we're going to see what happens. I have literally ran into bug-prone code before where using ampersands, someone might have meant like a single ampersand, or a single ampersand, someone might have meant double. Ooh, that would be cool. I do know in was it Clang? Yeah, LLVM. They are bringing, at least with C++ 26, they are bringing more default safe operations, such as indexing, by default will now have bounds checking and exception throwing, whereas before it would just be you indexing out of range. Things like that, they are like turning on by default, which, having been aware of that in written code to prevent that, I'm like, I'm okay. I guess I get it. I haven't decided if I like it yet or not. Now, here's something else I recommend. All right, what is this trying to tell me? Oh, it's telling me, but then it's not letting me auto complete it. Hang on. Come on, do it again. Do it again. There we go. All right. So 4 and 5 is a magic number, right? As I wrote this code, though, I know what 4 and 5 means. 4 is the number of digits in true, and 5 is the number of digits in false. Pretty straightforward. Someone coming in and reading this code, they can probably eventually reason what I was doing. I could even leave a comment and be like, hey, oh, there you go, autocomplete. Check if the string is empty or has an invalid length, right? I could leave a comment. Or we could let our code do the documentation for us and eliminate a magic number. It also eliminates magic strings. So now we have one source of truth, and honestly, we might like stick this as a constant that we can use outside of these functions. Honestly, we would want to for testing purposes as well, because this could be like valid true and valid false for the string boolean comparison, versus having hard-coded strings and hard-coded integers to do all this for us. Now I have code that self-documents exactly what's happening. All right. I also got auto-completed on, so I gotta see what this was doing. All right, so we are empty, or our size is not the size of true. And also, at least with my code base, I guess I'm not using Clang Tidy yet. I personally am not, what would you call it? An underscore Andy. Probably do something like this. What is it doing? Okay, so if we are empty, or we don't have a correct size, we have an invalid argument. If we are true, if we are false, if we are empty. Okay, so this, it just got it wrong. If weird. Okay, so we can do some more invalid argument checks here. So now what we can do, because this is a string view, kind of want to do like a 2 lower on all of this just to make it a valid check. May or may not be the most performant solution, but I'm not too worried about it. We're here to learn about concepts and standard expected more than watching me write perfect code. I guess that would be the quickest solution, right? Just doing an ASCII check. In C++, you would achieve the same thing, but we can do it with, oh my god, it's been a minute. I think there is an actual 2 lower. And then we can do a C++ algorithm, which may or may not use SIMD under the hood for you. But for 4 letters, I mean... I want to use ranges. I think it's transform. Yeah, we could do something like this. I was wanting to see if 2 lower actually did an ASCII calculation there. Quick fix. Wonder if it's that simple. I feel like 2 lower might do more. That's not going to tell us. We'd have to... I think, I mean, you just go to GitHub and look at the code, I guess. Okay, so this will take our value, shorten up the text here. Standard begin. Something's not right. Okay. So a string view basically holds a reference to the actual allocated memory. So doing this transform, oh man. I'm trying to think if there's a way to do this. I think I just need another view, don't I? Standard views transform? Ooh. Is that something? Maybe that's something. That's definitely something I have not used. Watch your eyes. Field your eyes. It's bright. A range adapter that represents view of underlying sequence after applying a transformation function to each element. Oh, this might be exactly what I need. Because I basically, I mean, that's kind of... there might not... Is there a way to transform without allocating the original string? I don't know if there's a way to do that. Because something has to store the transformation, right? So I might have to... where is the code? What I might need to do is just do like a standard string that's going to be the test. And then as I transform the view, I push it into the test. Something like that. Except this would be like, what is it called? Back inserter. So maybe, but let me look at this view thing and see what it's doing. There's a rotate. So you have an input string. So this holds the allocation. This calls put for each character. This will transform it. I want to try this. This looks cool. Maybe this is what I need. Standard views transform, passing in the transformation function, which for me would just be a to lower, correct? And in is the container. Let's try it. Let's see if it even works. We might not be able to because it's a view, in which case my solution probably stands, which is if I'm going to transform this, then I need to store it, then I need to allocate. Okay, so let's comment this out. I'm not used to this word. This is kind of cool. It's in ranges. So what's the return type of this? Is it a view? Is it another string? Standard views transform. Let's just do auto test equals string pipe standard views. Yeah. I think that needs to be const. Oh my god. Okay. Couple of things. No operator found, which takes a left-hand operand. So maybe I need to pass it in. Is this an iterator? Maybe this is an iterator. Oh, maybe this is temporary? If it's an R value, that wouldn't work then. Let me get rid of const. Standard ranges equal? Okay, that's overkill. I'm just doing a string comparison. Come on now. Okay, so maybe it doesn't work with string view. So just in case, let's do a standard string. See if that works. Cannot convert argument 1 from a string to a copy options. No user-defined conversion operator available that can perform this conversion. Okay. So I don't know how to use this, or I'm using it incorrectly. Am I familiar with Rust? I am familiar that it exists and that it is weaponized against C++. I have experienced some of that even in my career. But otherwise, Rust is cool. I'm aware of it. I like some of the stuff it does. I like that it has more safety features enabled by default that you have to opt out of. But no, I have not used it myself. I think I would recognize Rust syntax if I saw it, but I have not used it. No, maybe someday when I have a little bit more free time to dabble. So far on stream, I've explored a little bit, just a very little bit, of Odin. I think that's really been the only other language I've explored. And Odin was kind of cool. I did use Zig for building cross-platform C++. I did explore that on stream as well, and that worked out kind of well. But I've not like written Zig either. All right. I am using this incorrectly. It could be that I'm using this as a temporary. So let me no operator found which takes a left-hand operand of type string. Well, thanks, Mandy. I really appreciate it. Is it the compare? Oh, here. Let's. When in doubt, comment it out. We can also make sure. We could probably simplify this as well, right? Literally just return the character. Still don't like it. What am I doing wrong? Standard views transform. Returns a char, takes a char. Let me... Whoa. Does it allow you to pass in a lambda? Could... So it's kind of ambiguous almost. It's saying it could be a copy option. Oh, I wonder if it's converting this lambda. What does this take? It takes a range and a function. But this should pipe in the range, and this is the function. So it's almost like it's struggling to determine what the range is and what the function is. So I'm just trying to figure this out. Okay, that worked. Okay, so maybe it doesn't do well with lambdas. Or my lambda wasn't explicit enough. So this is another way to use it. You just pass in the string and the function. So I could try that as well, honestly. And that would return... I'm assuming this... So what does this actually return? it returns a transform view. And what is a transform view? Apologies if you guys are not used to reading template hell here. So this looks like an allocation. Unless it's a pointer. Hey, Mad Fury, how's it going? All right, so clearly, so I want to try, I still want to see if I can use a lambda. So let's do a Zeus. Make sure that works. Must return a value. Okay, that worked. So now let's do a lambda. Must return. Okay, so that worked. So I was right. It was struggling to figure out that this lambda I was passing in was a function for some reason. It could be that I had the signature wrong. Hard for me to know. I'd have to like spend time playing with it. But this achieves the exact same thing, so I'll just do this. So views transform. So now the question becomes, can I do this without allocating a string? If I can, freaking awesome. Is Trill still? Oh my god. I'm glad you asked. Hang on, guys. I'm going to take a picture. This is ridiculous. This cat. Hang on. Okay. So for those who have just popped in or are not aware of the context, I am streaming with my setup here tucked in to a closet. And because of that, there's a lot of like empty space, harsh angles. So if I start speaking loud, you guys are going to hear more and more echo seep into the audio. So today, I bought a sound dampening curtain to put behind my desk between me and the closet to hopefully clean up some of the audio and also make it so I don't have to like have the mic this close to my mouth. Well, I put that curtain down on the floor next to me because I was going to try and like hold it up and show you guys and speak to my mic with it held up to see if it makes a big difference. Well, immediately when I started stream, my cat tucked himself into the curtain that I have folded on the floor. So that's where he was at the beginning of the stream. This is where he is now. Usually when I'm streaming, he's hanging out in the chair right there. But because I put the curtain on the floor, like what the heck? Actually, I'm going to text my family. I'm going to show them. I bought a sound dampening curtain for streaming. I set it on the floor and this immediately happened? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So that almost tells me, do I need to get him some kind of like folded blanket or something to put on the chair for him to like tuck himself into? Just unbelievable. He is out. He is out. Okay. Oh, they texted me back. Oh. I just this cat. Okay, so something's wrong. Operator equal, no operator found, which takes a right-hand operator. Okay, yeah. So this views transform returns a view type. So now does that mean I do need to do a ranges equal? Oh my god. This is, and you guys think simple programming with simple syntax is the way to go. This is the way to go. Standard ranges equal to equal range. Is that what I want? So now it becomes string true comma test. Or no, that's comparing ranges. I want equal to test string true. Maybe? I don't know. I'm guessing here because I've not used any of these before. Cannot convert initializer list to equal to. Your face is an initializer list. Compare transform view to what? A container? Transform view is a lazy, non-owning range adapter that applies a function to elements on the fly. In contrast, a traditional container like a vector, yeah, I get that. But is there a way to compare them? Ah, my eyes. Well, of course there's a way to compare them. I can literally do like a for each. But I want to, let's see. I had a thought, and so I was thinking about that thought, and then I forgot that thought, and then I also forgot what I was doing here. Because I was thinking I'm overcomplicating this so much, but I just want to see if I can figure out a way to do this using these views and stuff. Because it's literally, you're just comparing character by character, right? At the end of the day. Standard ranges. No, I'm not really worried about allocations or anything like that. This is just for fun. I'm just trying to figure out if there's a way to do a comparison. Like I could easily write just a plain old loop, right? pass a character into 2 lower, and then do the character by character test to verify that they equal. I'm just curious if there's a way to achieve what I want using this stuff. Cannot convert initializer list. I don't know why. Requires equality comparable. Oh, so they have to be comparable to each other for equal to work. I'm curious to see what this does. The following warning is treated as an error. From a string boolean, not all control paths return a value. So we have standard expected if they are equal, otherwise return unexpected invalid argument. There we go. I had the wrong function. It wasn't equal to, it was equal. Okay, so this is a view that runs this transform on the characters. I don't think we're getting any allocations here. I don't think. So I think what that means is when this equals is ran on a per iteration basis, it's going to run this function against that iteration, because this basically is combined into a view for these operations to run. And so it's interesting. You're choosing, you're making a decision here. Do you want to allocate and pre-process, or do you want to just do a process? And who knows, depending on your use case, one might be a better option than another. But for me, and for fun, don't forget const correctness if and when possible. If it lets you. What, in my opinion, differentiates a junior, mid-level, senior? Oh, boy. That's a good question. I would say... I'm gonna keep this somewhat simple. There's a bunch of nuance, right? A junior developer might know a lot more than, or someone who is actively a junior developer might know a lot more, or might feel they know a lot more than what I'm about to explain. So just keep that in mind. That everything has a perspective. But what I would say is a junior developer knows syntax. They can get stuff to compile. They can make an application. They might, depending on how many years of experience, you might not know what a unresolved external symbol is right off the bat. Maybe after a few weeks on the job, you'll figure it out, right? But syntax, junior developer syntax, maybe code organization, some general like no duplication, code reuse, things like that. A mid-level, I would say, starts to delve more into higher level thinking and problem solving. So not just writing syntax to solve a problem, but starting to understand the needs of their client, what it means to work on a team, what it takes to write code that is readable and maintainable for other developers to make use of and contribute as a whole to a team. So mid-level is not just the code, it's beginning to enter and understand the problem space. And then a senior level, senior is all encompassing, right? But generally speaking, a senior level is the one making more business decisions. And all of this has range. I mean, hell, even like Fang style companies, they have levels, right? Don't they call them like L1, L2, L3, L4, 5, what have you? There's just different levels to this. But a senior level is thinking about the architecture of the project or product as a whole. Maybe thinking about different systems, interfacing with other teams, running the team potentially, that kind of thing. There's a lot of nuance to all this. That's what I would generally say here. Yeah, I think this will do it. So I'm also a fan of only using. Yeah, we don't need the size of test here. We don't need to do the transformations here. We can do it down here. So string. Do I have plain format? I do. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's get a test or two written and see if we can get this to fail. I'm getting spam calls every single freaking day. Okay. All right, so Boolean. We would expect, let's do const expr auto result equals expect it to have a value, and we would expect it to equal true. Doesn't like, it's saying it's not const expr. Oh no, is 2 lower not const expr? Are you kidding me? Maybe we will need to do the ASCII, the cheap ASCII check. 2 lower CPP const expr. Maybe it's coming. Some of these are coming for sure. I figured it would have been const expr in like C++ 26. This could work. And maybe not. All right, so this returns the character if the character is within the range of capital letters. It will return the letter as lowercase. Otherwise, just return the letter. I think that's fine for now. This doesn't have to be anything crazy. Let's try this again. Cool. So now let's see if we can get this thing to fail. These are the good cases. False. True. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is going to try some capital letters. I'm not opposed to doing like F, L, E. Expect those to be true and false. 1 is an invalid argument. 0 is an invalid argument. Actually, this would kind of be up to the type of parser you're wanting to implement, but I could see a situation where you would want a 1 or 0 to also convert to a true or a false. And if we wanted to handle that, we could. Do I want to handle that? Nah, we'll say it's wrong for now. If I want a 0 or 1, I would use an integer. In my C++, I believe in fairly strict typing when possible. And so when I see a number here, I would expect its type to be an integer, not necessarily a Boolean. This isn't C, this is C++. And then we have to also make sure Batman does not convert to Boolean as well. And then maybe something with some spaces, like space true. Yeah, I think it's on the caller of this function to make sure their strings are trimmed. It's not on the caller of this function to trim it. All right, let's build that. Make sure tests pass. And they pass. All right, that's good enough for now. It's not thoroughly tested for sure, but it's a good starting point. Let me commit these changes. Working. Floating and Boolean string deserialization. All right. So what other types do we need? We have essentially arithmetic types. That should handle all of the ints and floats, unsigned ints, etc. Boolean types. What else? I'm wondering if I want this to be a lambda inside my Boolean function. What else? Eventually I want to do SDL types, containers, data structures, that kind of thing. But before I do that, I wanted to make sure I handled all the primitive types. Floats, ints, I think that covers everything. Booleans. I guess a pointer type as well at some point. I think. Wonder if there's a concept for that. Is there? Because I'd want to do this for like is pointer. Yeah. Defining the concept for a raw pointer, but what about like unique pointer? Ooh, we need to handle the char type as well. Actually, we need to handle that. Char can get kind of tricky because it's also like an integer, and sometimes I've ran into this issue in the past where you might want a char to be represented as a character, but then you have like an integer type such as int 8t that you want to be handled as an integer, but it's a char type def as an integer, but you want those to be handled differently. So that's something we need to make sure we're testing. Okay, so it looks like int 8t is not defined, which is honestly kind of surprising. I would have expected the arithmetic type to handle that, but maybe it doesn't. I guess it kind of doesn't. Like char is an arithmetic type or an integer type. Hmm. 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 Interesting. Oh, wait. It might be yelling at me about the Google test itself. Because I may have already... Yeah, I already did it up here. Whoops. Never mind. Scratch that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's try this again. I would be surprised if this passes. So we pass in the letter A, and then we're going to expect the result to be a letter A. Yeah, it failed. It failed. It failed. So we need to handle the char type for sure. So I have to decide if I want the char type to be a part of my custom integer type. Because right now it's trying to treat it as an arithmetic type, which is an integer. And I want to treat it specially for parsing purposes. So I think I don't know if this will be enough though. I mean, actually, yeah. So we're treating a char as the literal character. But will it use it? Or will it use the arithmetic type first? Either because the function is defined first, or the concept is. Let's see what happens. I'm thinking it's going to be wrong. Ooh, or it might not know what to use. Yeah, ambiguous call. Okay. So that means I need to remove the char type from here. All right, let's try it again. And now it passes. Success. I should probably make sure I can do like an integer or like a string number, but it gets converted to a character like that. Yeah. What if this fun little side project turns into the start of the scripting language I'm writing for an engine that's going to become the next big gaming engine? What if you're at ground zero and I am making the next big thing? I'm just one man. I don't have that kind of time. I would love to see a more modern developed framework though. Even Godot is kind of old at this point. If you've ever looked at its code. Okay. Last but not least, not even last or least. What am I saying? Do I want to string serialize pointer types? I think I do. This isn't going to work. This is basically like, hey, I was thinking in my head, I was thinking you would have a string of address, like you would have an address. But this is insane. Because what would you use that for? Like there might be a reason to write the address of a string of a pointer to a string, but to go from a string to a pointer, that's kind of nonsense. All right, I'm crazy. I'm not doing this. I'm getting over my head. Yeah, I think I'll still keep the concept though, because serializing to a string, like I said, could be useful for like logging purposes. All right. So the next step here is containers. So thinking about how you might have a, I don't know, like maybe a container is anything that's wrapped in brackets, and then like pairs or tuples. I don't know what the common pronunciation is. Would be like braces. So like a map, for instance. And then converting this into a container type. So I'll do that in another stream. I think for now, I am going to take a quick break, grab a drink, use the bathroom, make sure my cat has food, all that stuff. And then when I come back, I'll probably play a game or something for about an hour, and then we'll call it. So thanks for hanging out for the programming portion of this, and I will be right back. Hi, Trill. Come on. Come on. All right, guys. What am I in the mood for? I've got Slay the Spire 2, which I finally made it to the final difficulty level. It's probably not going to be a good time, because if I try to play that on stream, you guys are going to see me cuss and holler and throw my keyboard at the screen as I lose over and over and over again. I also have my Vanilla WoW hardcore character I could continue leveling. There's always Factorio. What else do I have here? WoW seems kind of relaxing. Maybe I want to relax for a little bit. Got another Factorio fan in here. I forget where I was at in Factorio. Let's check it out. Maybe. It's not showing up. Oh, there it is. I am still learning how to play, so bear with me. And I don't remember what I was doing. I was automating. I was automating my research. I was working on getting power. We have a copper and gear backup. Hang on. I want to change my music. There we go. Let's do this. All right. What do we got here? Copper. I don't even know what I'm working towards anymore. Oh, that's right. I was trying to find a way to use splitters to feed all of this into 3 research labs, and I couldn't figure out what to do. There's got to be a way to do this. Maybe I need to move. I just realized I need to change my streaming section here. Can I do this on YouTube as well? I think so. All right. I think I am in the Factorio section on YouTube. And I immediately lost power to everything, so that's cool. I don't remember. Right. All right. How the H do I use a splitter correctly? I might have to look this up. Factorio. How to use a splitter. Oh, is it based on the side of the belt it's on? Huh. Is that what's happening? So if I do this, what's the best way to put this? Let's say I do this. All right, so this isn't even doing anything. And I don't know why. Oh, guys, there's a Factorio wiki, and it shows a GIF of how it works, and I am doing it way wrong. Okay, let me get some power back. Been doing it wrong this whole time. So I need to do this, followed by this. There we go. Now we're cooking. Oh my god. No. Hey, stop. No, 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 no. What do I need? What do I need? Iron plates. Iron plates. Electric circuits. Needs iron plates. Okay. Oh god. Oh god. Everything's going wrong. How do I get the copper plate off? Nope. Stop. Stop, dude. Dude. All right. Whatever. Okay. I don't remember how to do this. Wait, did I click on the wrong thing? Oh my god. Here we go. There we go. Alright, let the research automation commence. Give me everything. There we go. There we go. It's working. It's working. Okay. Now what do I do? Now that I can research, feel like, oh, I wanted. Is this it? Faster, more flexible furnace. Yeah, this is it. I want this. Give me this. But to get that, I need green juice, which I have a bunch of. Or no, I can make a bunch of. Okay. So... Can I research in parallel? Probably not. That radar's taking forever. All right, these guys are producing a lot. Oh my god. I've got excess. I don't know what to do about it. Guys, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do here next other than sit and wait for research to complete. It doesn't seem like there's any objectives right now other than research. Make weaponry, I guess, but I don't know. Submachine gun, shotgun. What do I have? Pistol? Let's make a submachine gun. Okay. How do I switch to it? Will it automatically switch to it? Hmm. I forget what the radar does. Scans the nearby sectors, actively reveals an area around it. Sectors, progress, continuous coverage. So is this gonna unlock more of the map, I think? Yeah, and this game gets complicated, I think. And I haven't made it very far. I did the tutorial a few streams ago, and then I got the game and started a new map, and this is kind of where I'm at. I know there's a cluster of bad guys up to the right. I'm pretty sure this radar is going to unlock more of the map. I can get a lamp. Ooh, actually. What does that do? Oh, oh, hell yeah. Oh man, I need lamps. I love lamp. Score. Put some lamps next to the... Okay. Where's my research? All levels for this technology are already researched or queued. Okay. Oh. Wait, why aren't we researching? Screwed something up. We need green juice to research. That's why. Green juice requires a transport belt and an inserter? What? Well, that's weird as hell. So, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. So I need to change my assembly line. But I think I already know what's going to happen. I'm going to change my assembly line, and then I'm going to need other stuff for this assembly line. Okay, so what does a belt take? Iron plates and, yeah, and gear wheels. Okay. And then the inserter takes iron plates, gear wheels, electronic circuits. I'm out of power. Okay. Oh, is the more I add to the circuits, the faster this gets drained? So what do I need to do? Do I need more? How do I make it last longer? It's going quick. Use a tank to store steam and save fuel for your boilers. You are not saving fuel by storing steam. You are just storing energy as steam rather than coal. Only for nuclear does this make marginal sense. This is the basis for optimized nuke reactors. It's not really useful for boilers because fuel consumption is reduced to match power demand. However, it is useful to match power demand. So what do I do? How to reduce fuel consumption Factorio. Boiler. Upgrade to higher density fuel types. Solar switching to nuclear power. Okay. So how do I get to different fuel sources? Okay. I guess I just have to deal with it for now. I am getting hungry. I'm gonna order food, and then when food gets here, I think I will call it. What am I hungry for is the question. We'll do a drink. We'll do some fries. And we will do a spicy chicken wrap. I do think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, all right. Okay. So I still need this assembly line producing gears, but now I need an assembly line producing inserters, which means I need electric circuits, which means I need copper plates, which means I need, oh my god, everything needs iron plates. So now I am thinking, I guess before I change everything out, do I still need red juice? Oh man, it looks like I'm going to need red juice for everything. Holy crap. Okay, so that still has to remain. But now I'm going to split the other materials off into other things? Question mark? I think that's what has to happen. So this will become red, green, and eventually blue. Wait, where'd all the copper go? Oh no. Am I not producing enough power? Or did something break? It's these lights, isn't it? Hmm. It's not. Oh wait, no, these take their own fuel. All right. So, oh my god, I've got an iron backup. I need lots of plates. I'm gonna need gears. Plates, gears. More gears, more plates. Okay, let me think. So I almost need... I need something that's producing plates, which is going to be the furnace, which I already have. I do have that. And then something producing gears. Something producing... Okay. So this still needs to happen. This needs to transition to another manufacturing shindig. I need to make room. How do I... Oh no, did that screw things up? I think I screwed something up. I don't remember how to fix this. Oh. Yep. I think that screwed up. Factorio. How to force items on conveyor side? How do I switch items to the other side of a conveyor belt? This post is old, but for anyone wondering, there are loads of different ways to accomplish this. My friend posed this question to me with the intent of doing this in the smallest form factor possible. This is the solution we came up with. Oh. Oh no. Side load the belt on the desired side. Side load the belt. And I'm out of power again. Alright guys. I am about to crash the frick out with this stupid game. Oh my god. Take care, Logan. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Everything is backing up because I don't know how to freaking manage these belts. All right, simplify the problem. We need iron. We need plates. We need gears. We have the iron. What are you doing? Oh my god. This needs like... Is there a way to pause this game? Or do I just have to hit escape? I need to like plan and map this out. I don't want all this stuff to go to waste if I start tearing everything down. Nope. I can't do it, guys. I apologize. This game is rough. I need to, like, sit and plan this out. Oh, man, that's rough. I think I have to redo it all. I need to do some research. That's too much work. I think, this is a good spot to stop though. We got some good programming done, had some good technological discussion, so I can't really complain. Pretty good stream. I don't know what my availability is this weekend, but if not, I should see you guys Monday if you choose to stop by, and we'll continue doing some C++ and maybe explore building up my game a little bit more. Got some thoughts on what I want to do there. We'll see. But until then, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Thank you, and have a good evening and a good weekend. Catch you later.